Hello, friends. The defenders are back at the drawing board, once again installing a shotgun on one of their Mosquitoes, so they can shoot down the Gerbera attack drones that the Horde is sending against them. Judging by the outcome in the video, the system seems to be working quite satisfactorily, which is not surprising considering they've been working for 3 years on turning their Mosquitoes into armed interceptors. Ukraine's drone hunting weapons keep coming up with new solutions to deal with the Horde. A mutant Mosquito keeps patrolling over a crossroads while it waits for some orc to come by so it can take them out. At that moment, a jeep approaches and it stops to greet the passenger recording on his cell phone. I think that video must have turned out pretty epic for the Ukrainians. A tank from the defenders moves at full speed along a road on the Konstantinivka front. Multiple anti-drone screens have been installed on its turret. A group of infantry has boarded it, who seem to be taking advantage of the transport to reach their combat positions more quickly and safely. Armored vehicles are not seen very often on the front lines due to their extreme vulnerability to drones, but that doesn't mean that when the situation calls for it, they won't go to help their comrades. In this footage, the defenders from the 1st Assault Regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the famous Vinci Wolves, show how they managed to recapture a heavily fortified Russian outpost near Yulia and Pol, which had fallen into the hands of the invaders, showing how effective their tactics are for reclaiming occupied land on the southern front. The operation included an initial coordinated artillery attack and attack drones that harassed the positions to make sure no invader would raise their head, to which was added direct tank fire at less than 50 meters to dismantle the concrete bunkers and trench networks. The trenches were armed before the infantry advance. In the video released by the regiment, the systematic neutralization of Russian positions can be seen, thus minimizing the risk for the Ukrainian assault troops as they advance toward the objective. This action was part of the counteroffensive that Ukraine is carrying out in the Julia Y. Pol and Oleksandrivka sectors, where the defenders have regained more than 400 square kilometers and multiple settlements since the end of January 2026. They have halted the Russian offensive, forcing the enemy to send in reserves which have suffered a large number of casualties, even by Russian standards. On their side, the fighters of the 65th Mechanized Brigade, together with neighboring units and the support of the Unmanned Systems Battalion, Ronin, successfully repelled the assault of a Russian mechanized force the size of a company in a battle that took place on the northern outskirts of Robotyne, Zaporizhzhia Oblast. The Ukrainian defenders detected and neutralized the attacking column, which consisted of more than 10 armored vehicles through coordinated attacks by attack drones, heavy artillery cover, and anti-tank missiles. All the vehicles that Ivan sent on the raid were destroyed, a fate shared by the Z infantry traveling in those vehicles, who suffered significant casualties before retreating in disarray while being followed by a dense swarm of drones. They kept them motivated so they wouldn't stop until returning to their positions. Isn't it great when you have a good day at work? Maybe because of these kinds of actions, we're seeing a change in the invaders' morale, as shown by this Russian, who appears quite spirited, casually firing at the defenders. But just 5 hours later, he's recording a message for his colleagues and for the civilians who watch Russian propaganda, asking them to desert or surrender, but not to come to the front, to repent and leave. He also tells them that what they're doing isn't right. Well, at least they gave him a vest and a hat for the cold. But he's not the only one, because the soldiers of the 43rd Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Ground Forces successfully thwarted a Russian attempt to make a fake propaganda video about the occupation of Kyiv on the Kupiansk front. A group of invaders from the 153rd Tank Regiment was sent with the mission to plant a Mordor flag and film a video about the supposed advance for Russian state television. Instead of achieving their objective, 4 of the attackers were deputinized. 6 were captured. This incident once again reveals the recurring tactic of Z Command, which consists of sending poorly prepared and poorly equipped soldiers on so-called flag runs within the gray zone. These are high-risk, low military value missions that serve only to generate brief media victories by raising flags, which are recorded by drones. The soldiers sent pay the price, being neutralized, wounded, or captured, but the officers get what they need to celebrate advances. The images released by the Brigade show the Russian prisoners in a shelter receiving food and water from the Ukrainian defenders, who assure them humane treatment, medical care if needed, and that they will be included in future prisoner exchanges in full compliance with international humanitarian law. April 2nd marks 4 years since the Ukrainian defenders officially liberated the Kyiv region from the Z occupation forces, marking a decisive turning point in the invasion launched by Russia on February 24, 2022. What Moscow had planned as a quick 3-day operation to take the Ukrainian capital ended in a humiliating retreat, heavy losses, and a strategic failure that changed the course of the conflict. The battle for Kyiv, which lasted from late February to early April 2022, saw Russian columns advancing from multiple directions, including attempts to seize the Antonov airport in order to launch a direct offensive against the capital. Regular Ukrainian troops, territorial defense forces, special operations units, and thousands of civilian volunteers, from writers and intellectuals to experienced fighters, put up an improvised but fierce resistance. They disrupted supply lines, destroyed convoys, and prevented the landing of airborne reinforcements that could have sealed the fate of the capital. They fought in Ostomel, Bucha, Irpin, Borodyanka, Borsal, Gorenka, Moshun, and other suburbs of Kyiv, where they proved that the world's Second Army was nothing more than a mirage. The core group of soldiers in the current Third Army Corps has its origins in the veterans of the defense of the Kyiv area. Their actions turned what was supposed to be a quick victory for a numerically and technologically superior force into a costly and humiliating defeat for the invaders.
La retirada, anunciada por Rusia como un reposicionamiento táctico hacia el...
Ukraine left behind destroyed equipment, abandoned positions, and evidence of atrocities in liberated cities like Bucha. Ukrainian forces methodically cleared the region, confirming full control of the area on April 2, 2022. The victory boosted national morale, exposed the logistical and intelligence weaknesses of the Russian army, and demonstrated the power of motivated and united defenders operating with unlimited weaponry in the initial phase of the war. In its 5th year, the defense of Kyiv remains a symbol of resistance and a reminder that unity and flexibility can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, something that Ukrainian forces continue to demonstrate day after day on the battlefield. To see more content about the war in Ukraine, visit our 2 new channels where we share information in a different format. Be sure to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1 you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Lastly, visit our store, where you can find items inspired by some of Ukraine's most outstanding units. Carry history with you, and with every purchase you'll be supporting the United 24 program, which supports Ukraine.
De reconstrucción, ayuda a la población civil y defensa.
Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.